Hello everyone, I'm Glenn and welcome to The Way Back. This is mine and Steph's YouTube channel that offers insight and inspiration to help you reclaim your life back from addiction and, all being well, to find your way back. This is Steph.
Hello friends. Today Glenn and I have decided to have just one of our impromptu discussions, and we want to share it with you because we think there's some interesting things to kind of bring out in the open. There's a topic in particular that Glenn's been thinking about a lot recently, which we've been talking about, and that is the topic of recovery as a definition, as a label, as a process that we go through, and so we're going to talk about that today. So Glenn, tell us, why has this been on your mind recently?
Right. Can I just tell the audience that this is probably going to get a bit messy, so apologies, because my views may differ from quite a lot of you, or maybe they won't, I don't know.
I think people are used to that with you.
Yeah. So basically, long story short, we are over 7.5 months sober now. Excuse me. I've personally been on this journey for well over 2.5 years. From the very first day I decided, or I actually let my brain realise that I did have a problem.
No, sorry, can I just stop you there? In that time, what was your longest relapse?
In that 2.5 years, I relapsed. The biggest one was 6 months.
Okay.
And that was off the back of 5 months sobriety.
Okay.
So within that two and a half, or well over 2.5 years, I'm just making a point. I've been at this a long time, and I kind of feel like I know everything about it. I've watched my journey, your journey, and obviously everyone else's, so I kind of know the patterns and things. And I've never really had problems with labels or anything. If I have to, if someone asked me, am I alcoholic, I would actually say yes. I am an alcoholic, but that would be someone quite close to me now.
Yeah, I was going to say, this sounds new to me now, because you've always said you used to be an alcoholic, but you do not define yourself as alcoholic now.
If I'm talking to someone who's close with me, then I'll say, well, yeah, of course I'm an alcoholic. But if I'm talking to someone who isn't a really good friend, then I wouldn't use that label. I would just simply, no longer drink again or whatever. Or even I used to have a problem with the drink, so I can't drink anymore. That's what I've used that one a few times. So again, I'm not totally against labels or anything. But what I've had I've had quite a huge mind shift in the last two months plus, and this is one I didn't see coming. I have to be honest. We got ourselves, as I say, 7.5 months sober, and probably around about the 5-month mark, or maybe slightly before. I don't know the exact dates. The day one stuff was it's going to sound horrible. I do apologise, but the day one stuff, because we were on a group called Onwards and Upwards, and that group was just for people to quit drinking. So I got tired of that, especially when I got this second length, because I've only been sober properly twice. I've done weeks and stuff, but I only really, I did 8 weeks once, but I kind of only really class that 5 months and where I'm at now as sort of being properly sober.
Mm-hmm.
So it became quite apparent to me that I was struggling in that group a little bit, and I didn't know why at the time, but it's now looking back, it's really easy. It was because it was a quitting group, and lots of people were struggling early doors with getting sober and what have you, and it became very repetitive to me. And bear in mind, I've been there for 2.5 years or whatever it was, so you've seen it, you've heard it all before. There's nothing new, and all you can keep doing is giving the same advice. And I said this would be a long story short, sorry. So I got tired of it, but I didn't realise I was tired of it, and a couple of things happened on that group, and it was time for me to come away from it. And that felt a little bit strange at first, because that had been my support network for a long time. But as I got closer to this like, let's call it 5-month mark, it was becoming blatantly obvious to me that the time was for me to completely go and leave it. And the night I did that, I'm not joking, it was like a weight had been lifted. It was, the little bit of habit was there for the 1 or 2, or maybe even 3 days after that, wondering what was going on. But that went away really quickly. And then it was just, I don't have to listen to that anymore. And now that might sound really selfish, but please bear in mind, I've been on there for, over 2.5 years. I'd done my stint on that group and I'd supported everyone. And I'd personally supported a lot of people as well, not just group stuff. I was doing what kind of Steph does now almost. Not bigging you up, Steph, but you put a lot of effort in behind the scenes, and I was kind of doing a lot of that back then. Anyway, so I left, and all of a sudden this weight had been lifted, and it was like, yes. And then like a 1 or 2 week period after, the way back group came around from myself and Steph, and this group wasn't planned. It wasn't because Owen knew there were things going on. This group just happened, and it was like,
yeah, no, I think a lot of people assume that things kind of
Yeah.
went wrong at Onwards and Upwards, and then
yeah,
or even that we had an agenda going into,
Yeah.
and it's not. I mean, just for the sake of everyone knowing how our group, the way back, came about, it was Glenn said he was going to leave Onwards and Upwards, and we talked about why, and then I said, hey, what about if we had a group, and it really came about that quickly, and within a few hours, the group was up, and we had the banner, and we had the name, and it was just like, okay, and it happened just like that. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go on, Glenn.
No, it's good. So obviously this period's in the middle where I'd left, and I sort of come on leaps and bounds, and it felt like I'd left a lot of baggage behind, and me disposing of that baggage, I felt lighter, and I wanted to move forward. Then that's how I felt, and that's what the way back was created for. And myself and Steph, we always said it was about the second phase of sobriety. I'm not saying we coined that term or anything. It's just something we knew, we'd heard of before, and it sounded really good. So it was forgetting about all your day one stuff and very, very early sobriety, and making a group that talks about everything else that people have to deal with once the booze is gone.
Say that for me anyway, yeah, at the beginning we'd said we want a place where the focus is sort of moving on from those early stages of getting sober, but we also agreed pretty quickly that we couldn't discriminate and say that people who were early in sobriety or just who were relapsing, whatever, weren't welcome. And what we soon figured out was that, first of all, the group's going to be what it's going to be. You can't sort of force an agenda, and this is what we talk about, and this is what we're about, or whatever. But also that in these kind of support groups, I mean, you kind of need, and AA has this sort of system as well, where you have people who've been there longer. They still need to hear from the people who having day one or can't seem to quite get it yet, because it reminds them of what would happen if they sort of, stopped, working on it.
I don't think it's just AA people who need to hear that either.
No, I'm just saying that
I think there's a large, I think a large, and I would say by far the majority need that.
Yeah, I just mean,
from what I've seen, the majority.
It's part of the philosophy of kind of how it works, is people who've been, in recovery, sober for a good period of time, still every once in a while want to hear from someone who's struggling to remember the struggle. So yeah, that was, and we also, I think, wanted to just make sure we had a place that was comfortable for people who were further along in sobriety to feel like they could talk about things that are happening in their life without anyone questioning, well, wait a minute, we're supposed to be talking about sobriety. Well, we want to talk about training for a marathon or yoga, or and we want to talk about other things, nutrition, fitness, without it being, wait a minute, we're supposed to be talking about getting sober, because that's not what we want to talk about. So anyway, go on, Glenn.
So obviously the group came along, and the group's been fantastic from day one. We've got fantastic members, lots of new people. Every type of brand of person is in that group and are free to speak exactly what they want to say. And obviously we have admins and whatever to deal with any things that go wrong. And to this day, we've hardly had anything go wrong, which is fantastic. So coming back to my mindset shift, I then gave myself a tag, or took up on the tag of recovery, because I kind of understood. I know you use the term a lot, the penny dropped, but the penny did drop again with me. Okay, now I'm sober. Now the second phase of sobriety is recovery, and that's dealing with what the alcohol leaves behind. So I was really bang into this, and it was like fantastic. And obviously, I was still on a roller coaster emotionally, although it was settling down. But I was really bang into it, and I was looking at it. I was talking about it a lot. I was listening to lots of other people talk about it, and it was like, yep, that's me. I am in recovery, and I almost bought some recovery labels, and I've sewn them onto every t-shirt I've got, because I was like, yes, this is good. But I don't know that's exact dates, but almost, I'm getting, well, let's just say 2.5 months down the line, I'm really struggling with that now.
Okay. Well, I just want to ask you, by definition, what does recovery, the word recovery, mean to you? By definition, how would you define it?
Just what I said, really. It's recovering from the alcohol has gone, so it's recovering mentally, physically, in every way. It covers everything. Okay. The word recovery, and means you start fixing yourself. Now, when I use the word fix, don't say, I'm not saying we're fixed and we'll never drink again. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying we're fixing ourselves to become the people we would have been if we hadn't gone down the alcoholism route.
Mm-hmm. And how long does recovery take?
Oh, you've jumped a bit there. So as I started to get into this recovery tag, I started to get some alarm bells started to ring about it, because I was listening to people on our group, and I'm not on any other groups now. I cut links with everything. I wasn't on many others, but I was on some little like help pages, not so much groups and stuff. And I came away from all of that when I left ONU, so I only kind of now have to see what the way back says. And there's a lot of knowledgeable people on that group, because there's a hell of a lot of sobriety on that group. There's some real serious long-term sobriety on that group as well. I'm not just talking like, a year here or whatever.
15 years.
Some incredible sobriety. So, I started to I would listen to people's posts about how they think of what sobriety is, and some so-called medical research and stuff, and how timelines and stuff on recovery and how long it can take. And when I started looking into this and I did a bit of research, and I was like, it really hit a nerve with me, because it was like, what I was reading didn't sound true to me. So just to give you some idea on things I've read, that obviously recovery can take, they don't even say from like 1 or 2 years. You can be classed in recovery for like up to 7 years. Until everything's repaired itself, brain paths, whatever it is, I don't know how it works, but until everything's so you're totally recovered, basically, physically and emotionally. That really started to narc me, and I started to dig a little bit deeper, and I started to listen a lot more to what people would post and talk about it when I'm in chats and things, and I've really dug my heels in now, and the mindset right now is I'm not signing up for that recovery tag. And this is not me being big-headed and saying I beat the drink or anything, because I'll beat anything, because I still have other little demons and brain farts going off quite regular. I'm the most stable I'm the most stable I've been probably ever. Really, I'm guessing. Well, I'm quite balanced now. I know I'm the bad cop of the group and what have you, but I am quite. If you think I'm bad cop now, geez, you should have seen me a year ago. I was proper bad cop then. So what I've become now, I'm really happy with. But I refuse to give myself that tag that I'm in recovery for much longer, if I'm honest. Now, I'm not putting any times on it, but I always wanted to beat alcoholism. This is even when I was drinking, because I'd seen other people do it. I always wanted to beat alcoholism and then walk away into the sunset and leave it all behind me. Now, a lot of people go, and a lot of people 100% believe that you can't do that, and I understand that. And don't get me wrong, I would never belittle any system of getting sober or groups or whatever. I've always said you do what works for you. I'll have to say the AA because it's everyone will know what I'm talking about.
Can you just
the
stop
AA,
saying the AA?
I know AA, just a habit. AA works, so you are kind of tied into that alcoholic and recovery process from what I can see, basically the rest of your life, because the meeting network, that's how it works.
Well, and I think the reason for that is the difference in opinion of what addiction or alcoholism is. And from the AA point of view, and pretty much mainstream medical and psychological, point of view, is that alcoholism and addiction is a disease, and it's one that you can go into recovery from, but its recovery is indefinite because it's like having cancer and being in remission. You may reach a 5-year point where they say it's very unlikely that it will come back, but there's always a chance. So that's kind of the way they view recovery, is that there is always that possibility of falling back into those behaviors and being an addict again or an alcoholic again. And what's interesting, though, is you and I both know, whether we use those labels for ourselves or not, we will always have that risk as well, which is why we will never drink again. Right?
Yep, totally. So that's why I singled out AA slightly, because I fully understand how that program works. So it's unfair for me to come across a little bit critical of someone who's doing that. So if I do come across that, I just want to say that I'm not. I fully understand that. I get it.
No, you're making that point.
And it works.
You're making that point. I just wanted to point out that, when you look at something from a disease model, it's that there's never going to be a cure. You're always managing it. You're always maintaining a state of recovery, even if it's a wonderful state and everything's great in your life. You still are maintaining being disease-free. Or symptom-free, I should say, symptom-free, but never disease-free. Whereas you and I and others might see it from a point of view of, once you're no longer engaging in that behavior and you're no longer, addicted as such, then the whole problem is essentially gone.
Yeah, that's a mindset as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a mindset. But however, always remembering that, we can't go back to it.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just an interesting
But
paradigm.
Then there's the other side of the coin, where people, let's just say non-AA people, who have got sober very similar to me, I believe, who are quite strong on the recovery tag and seem to me very happy to just sit with that recovery tag around them. This might not go down too well. That's how I see it. That's the mind shift I've got. So going back to me saying, once I beat alcoholism, I wanted to walk away in the sunset. I always wanted that. That's why AA first time round didn't work for me, because I stuck it out for 3 months, got sober through it. But I was looking around at the groups and all these long-term people with sobriety, and I'm thinking, why are you at this meeting? Why are you sharing after 10, 15 years of sobriety? Didn't get the whole AA thing. Now I do. So now I'm looking at people who maybe non-AA, and they're still talking similar things, and they might have quite a lot of sobriety. I don't know. But it seems to me a lot of people, because that recovery tag's there, it's an easy way out, I think. Bit harsh, but I do think it's a bit of an easy way out.
What
because
do you mean an easy way out?
It's like saying I'm in recovery, and this recovery period now is me slowly fixing myself, and I'm going to come out of it the other end, and I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be this person I was supposed to be. But, if you're looking at this medical bollocks research that's, giving you these timelines of after 2 years, after 3 years, after 3 tick boxes saying this will be working, this will be working, then you're actually buying into that you're going to have to wait to 3, 4, 5 years before all these things are happening for you. That's horseshit. You can make that happen yourself. Now, without the tag recovery, we are automatically doing it to ourselves anyway, because that's the nature of the beast. But that's not what I want. And as I say, this is not just something I woke up thinking. This came quite gradually after accepting the recovery tag, as I said, to doing a completely 180 on it. And I can now say it's not for me. I guess I kind of am comfortable-ish right now saying I'm kind of just coming out of recovery. That's kind of the best I can say. That's how I feel.
That was going to be my next question, is like, when does recovery, and obviously this is individual for every person, but like at what point does someone decide that recovery is over and then regular life, takes over? Because, when you talk about walking off into the sunset, it kind of, might conjure up an image in some people's minds of like, oh, he thinks life will be perfect and everything.
And that's the problem.
Life is life. I mean, life, takes
that's
over
the problem.
and shit
People will think that. People will be watching this right now thinking, you cocky twat, I hope you drink. Well, they won't be thinking I hope I drink. You better fucking not be hoping that, but you know what I mean. And I would get that if someone confronted me and said, you're just cocky, you think you're fixed. I would understand where they're coming from.
Yeah.
But all I can be is completely honest with myself and then with you guys. And that's all I can be. And this isn't something that's going to change. This is another mind shift, which I've had many of throughout. Now, so I'm looking to dump the tag recovery very, very soon. And I'm kind of setting dates and stuff, but I almost am setting dates because and this is a bit that's not going to sound great, I need to come away from this now, because as the onwards and upwards with all the day one stuff and what have you, all that, I'm feeling kind of exactly the same, where I don't really need this. I have lots of shit wrong with me. Don't get me wrong, yeah. But I'm way off the roller coaster now, and I'm on a very smooth merry-go-round. That's kind of the analogy I use. So it's still a ride, but it's not a coaster. I'm getting stronger day by day, or maybe week by week. And as I say, I don't even speak about alcoholism anymore or drinking, because I haven't spoken about it for ages. And as Steph will vouch for, because she's seen every step of it, this time for me was the time when it was meant to happen, because I have kind of breezed through it. Now, again, that's a really fucking cocky statement, I get, but I really have breezed through it. I didn't have witching hours. I didn't have, one second. I didn't have witching hours. I didn't have all these drinking thoughts. I never think about drinking. And I get annoyed when I have to talk about it now, because it's like, yeah, been there, done that. What are you going to say, Steph?
I just was questioning using the word breezed.
Well, considering where I've come from and what I've done before, yeah, it was tough as hell last time, or last times. That's what I mean. Now, again, this is all down to personal journey, remember? Yeah. So I'm only talking about me and what I went through to where I am now. And yeah, I'll be fucking totally cocky if it's cocky. I breezed it. I really did. And I'm really proud of that fact as well, because that just means I was ready. People might think that's cocky, but they didn't see fucking 2 years of me in fucking bits and suicidal and wanting to drink myself to death because I couldn't get this. And all that shit just mounted up to this one time now where I've finally got my shit together and I got the strength, with the help of yourself and other things, to get that day one under my belt and then just grow from it, because you can't keep fucking doing the same shit and failing all the time. Eventually, that penny has to drop, or you die, pretty much. So if I'm coming across cocky right now, I'm not, but I'm really proud to put that out there. I fucking breezed that. I really did. And it was very blatant to me from very early on and I'm talking maybe like 1.5, 2 months into it, when all this other shit was going on and loads of other demons were coming out, but the alcoholism wasn't one of them. Now, that's not to say that in fucking 5-6 months time from now, I'm pretty confident to say I won't drink again. But that's not to say I might not be struggling with it again. I understand that, because I've heard the stories on our group of someone who went out for 10 years, 10 years, and then got back on, fell off the wagon. There's horror stories all over. So I fully understand all that. I get all that. But I'm a firm believer now, because of the time I've put in and the work I've done on myself, that I have all the tools I need now, that automatically, now this is the important bit, I'm kind of on autopilot with alcoholism. I don't have to think about it anymore, because I've got these tools now that deal with these situations. Now that means not letting myself into these bad places. Now to get to a bad place, to get from where I am to get to the place where you're going to drink, there's a huge old pile of shit that you have to go through before you pick that drink up. You don't go from where I am right now to go and pick a drink. It just doesn't happen. There's lots of other stages. And this toolbox I've got just allows me to probably, just go down that very slightly now and again. But yeah, when you look at it, you're absolutely a million miles from a drink. Mm-hmm. So with that said, that's why I feel the alcoholism bit's done. But going back to the original point, I now feel that the recovery bit is almost done, because I don't want to sit there talking and listening to people who want to be in recovery almost and seem, it's going to sound harshest, but I just think you are what you're surrounded. You become your surroundings. Yeah.
Well, and your thoughts too.
Say that again.
And your thoughts.
They come from each other, don't they?
You create your own reality based on how you think, and if you are constantly thinking of yourself, and and I don't want to offend anyone who is of this mindset, but if you define yourself as diseased, as having a disease that needs lifetime recovery to prevent relapse, then that's how you define yourself. I think this is really a matter of, you could say that, we're just talking, semantics and it's just language, but I think in something this important, it is, it is important for everyone individually to find a language that, works for them individually in defining alcoholism, addiction, recovery, for yourself in a context that works for you. Because this is such a deeply personal experience. We can go to groups and sort of relate to what other people are saying, and there's a certain way of program that works for me or doesn't work for me. But at the end of the day, this is a personal experience, and you have to define yourself and your situation in a way that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, totally. And on the flip side to that, there are people who are really happy to have that recovery mindset and, to give themselves all the time they need until they come out the other end or whatever. That's fine. I get that. No problem whatsoever.
But I think there are a lot of
people. Not what I want.
No. What I'm saying though is you just said come out the other end, but I think there's a significant number of people in addiction recovery who never consider that they will ever come out the other end, because it's a lifelong process that you're always going to be in recovery, and that as soon as you come out of recovery, if that is to say, if you stop working a program that you're in, if you stop doing the things that got you sober, then you are no longer in recovery, and then you're at risk. That's how.
That's fine. I don't go into that because I don't understand that, so I've never gone near that. To me, if that's what you believe, knock yourself out. If it's working for you, awesome. But I don't go near it. I could say the same about religion. I would never slag a religious person off, but I'm not going to go near it. It's not my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. But to somebody who is religious, no problem whatsoever. Yeah, and I look at it very similar to that. But it's not for me.
Yeah.
And and that's kind of brings us up to today. Now, what the listeners and viewers now won't know is that myself and Steph have been really back and forward with this over well, the last couple of months, or maybe the last month actually. Maybe really talking about it in the last 3 weeks, where I kind of came out and said, right, this is kind of where I'm at now. But and Steph being Steph is a lot more balanced and thinks things through a lot more than I do. And I think if you be honest, Steph, you did have a bit of a hard time understanding me in the beginning. I think that's fair to say.
Sure, because how do I put this? Watching your journey, and obviously I've only really seen your journey since you and I started the journey together that that we've been on this time. I've watched your old videos. I've spoke with people who've known you for the last 2.5 years, so I've heard about your journey, and so yeah, there were points along the way when I was concerned for you. Obviously, there were a few times when you, as we like to joke about, getting your crack pipe out and had your moments, and I've had them too.
No shit.
But there were times when I've been concerned for you, and so when you suddenly, and I'm sorry, it did seem as though it was suddenly you were like, right, I don't like using the word recovery anymore. I'm not in this anymore. It did come across a little cocky and like, I'm good, I'm done. And yeah, there was a little concern because remember too, this recent sort of mindset shift that you've had, where you've come to the realization that you don't want to use the term recovery to define yourself anymore. This does come on the heels of a situation you had not long ago where you were really in a bad place with regards to work, and and people saw you through that. That's the other thing too about what you and I both do on the group as well as on these videos that we post on the internet, is we're doing this all open and in public. It's kind of growing up publicly, so to speak. You've put yourself out there, so everyone's going to remember when you were having your issues at work, when you started smoking. It's so of course there's a bit of concern, but I get what you're saying. This isn't about, right, I'm done, I'm good to go, never need to think about this again. You just don't want to, and don't let me put words in your mouth, but I feel like you just don't want to define yourself by
I want to move on.
Recovery.
I want to move on. It's we've got to take stock of where we're up to every now and again, and that's what I've done. And although everything, there's little brain farts here and there and everything, and little demons crop up now and again, it's all very manageable now, very, very manageable. And we can get control pretty much instantly.
Yeah.
But normal fucking people go through this, not just addicts. A bad day, everything, just because you have a bad day, or you eat too much, or you overspend, or you have sex 10 times a day. Never had sex 10 times a day, so I wouldn't know that. But Steph's keeping quiet there.
What's wrong with that?
All right. Oh yeah, fucking right, yeah. Whatever it is, normal people go through that, and I also got very sick and tired of, and this was me personally, everything. It must be because you were an addict. Bollocks. Yeah. Well,
I just wanted to relate what you're saying to myself. Like, for example, and I've been very open on the group recently about some family situations that have been going on, and I know that when I post this long post about this is what's happening, and it's quite upsetting and whatever, and people come on like, oh, poor you, not poor you, but basically like, oh, that's awful, and and I get a lot of private messages. But what I keep trying to say to people is, I'm okay. I'm really okay. In fact, I'm so incredibly, not surprised, but a bit surprised, but also very proud of myself that the way I'm responding, and I use the word respond rather than react, the way I've been responding to the situations that have come up recently with, with my kids and with, my family, is like night and day from the way I would have reacted a few months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. I would have been a wreck. And not just drinking. I was drinking like crazy anyway, but I would have been just flying off, the handle. Just, I would not have been calmly thinking through what was happening. It would have just been, crazy reacting. So just, and I didn't do any kind of I've read some books, but I didn't do any kind of like training to get myself to a place where I responded and reacted differently necessarily. Although I've done meditation, I've done a lot of things. It just seems that now I was suddenly presented with this life situation, and then to kind of step back and watch myself respond the way I did, I'm like, wow, this is so different than I am a different person. But like you say, life happens, and so here I am, life happens, and I'm not coming at it from a addict's brain or an addiction way of, I'm just dealing with life. I'm just dealing with it. And there was never a moment when all this stuff was happening where I thought, I want to numb or, drink or whatever. It was just, I'm just dealing with life, but I'm actually dealing with it in a way that's so much healthier and calmer than I would have in early sobriety. And I'm really pleased with myself about that. So
that's progress, isn't it? That's what that is. That's awesome. So I guess that kind of takes us to now and where I see myself in the future. So I'm not kind of committing to anything, but I think realistically it looks like, I mean, as I say, I'm not on any other groups apart from the Way Back and the YouTube channel and what have you, but I think what I'm kind of processing now is maybe it's time for me to leave the nest, as it were. You probably, a few of you will probably know this because of recent posts I've made in the last 2 or 3 weeks, kind of just putting my feelers out to people on the group about kind of, the recovery tag and what have you, and, don't label yourself, and how the mindset is such a strong and powerful thing, and just get out there and get on with it. And to be fair, I didn't get hardly any response to about 3 posts I made, which is fine. I mean, God, we're not supposed to agree with each other at all. But that's why I do say the majority of people have that kind of recovery outlook, and that's fine. Again, not knocking it, but that has basically gone for me. So future-wise, or certainly short-term future for me, I feel that very soon it'll be time to leave the nest and just sort of leave this stuff behind. Don't get me wrong.
When you say, sorry,
go on.
When you say this stuff, do you mean addictive tendencies?
No, I mean support group.
Oh, you're saying leave this stuff behind, support.
Yeah. I don't put myself, and I haven't put myself out there behind the scenes for a long time now. You really took over that role. And I don't intend to go. Many occasions in sobriety, people, and I spoke to a lot of AA people as well when I was there, and you get this real massive vibe to save the world once you get a little bit of sobriety. You really do, and it's a fantastic feeling. You want to just help everyone, and lots of people want to go in and work it and get a career out of it, and just become support workers, whatever, helping, because obviously if you've been through it, it's a perfect job for you. And I did have that at one point, and I looked into that quite seriously. This is when I was 5 months sober before the relapse. But this time, haven't had that. As you know, Steph, I've been very, very selfish in lots of things to get myself sober. To be blunt, I've not given a fuck about anything apart from getting myself sober, and that's kind of carrying on a little bit now. And I'm kind of, I feel like I'm done putting myself out there and trying to help people. Don't get me wrong, somebody comes knocking on my door, of course I'm going to help them. I'm going to give them as much advice as I can and encouragement or whatever they need. But I don't go looking for that anymore. I'm kind of closing the door to that, as it were, which, that doesn't sound great. I understand that, but that's where I am. I kind of feel I've put my shift in, and I think I've gone cocky again, but I really have gone above and beyond what most people do to help people. I know I have.
Except me.
I know I have. Apart from you.
I've gone above and beyond you.
Yeah, well, you're ridiculous. And what people won't know behind the scenes is I have a go at Steph a lot about some stuff that she does. Now, obviously, I'm just talking in general. but she does far too much behind the scenes, which I 100% believe has a negative effect on Steph.
Oh, no, that's not fair.
No, I know you disagree with it, but I 100% believe that.
There was a period of time when, and I think there were plenty of people on the group who would agree with you, that I was putting way too much time and energy and effort into spending time on the group, responding to every post, helping everybody, and then that would lead me to speaking to people behind the scenes where I was spending, and I've said this in one of my recent posts when I talked about stuff happening with my kids, that I was spending so much time on my recovery as well as helping other people, because I kept saying helping other people helps me, and there was some truth to that, but it did seem to be coming at the expense of sort of everyone else in my life. I was selfishly, and I get that now. And I've said this to you though, it's been months that I've been that, hardcore into like constantly dealing with people.
Really?
No, it has. It really has. I still, yeah. The amount of time I was spending talking to people who were new in recovery, it was often 5, 6, 7, private message chats going on, a day that would take, quite a lot of time.
It's a hell of a lot of time.
Yeah. No, I don't do that
And
anymore.
I'm not knocking you in any way for doing that, as you know, but just so the viewers know, I'm not saying that's a wrong thing you've done.
No.
But
let me finish. Sorry, let me just finish what I was saying. Is that I have pulled back from that quite a lot. I know you don't think so, because I will mention to you, I spoke with someone or whatever. I have really, really come away from that, especially when I give someone my time and
I've got a butt in. I'm sorry, but anyone in the group, you're like an open door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't be asked posting on group, but they'll go directly to you with all the problems. Is that fair? Is that good for you?
No, but as I've said,
I'll be surprised if this bit stays in the video, by the way, guys. We'll see how much balls Steph's got after this.
Now everyone
Look at her smiling, she's shitting herself. Oh, fuck, did he just say that?
No, this is the part where everyone gets to see what I deal with all the time. So, listen, I don't spend the kind of time I used to spend with people. However, like I just spoke with someone yesterday from the group who was struggling, and I had a 30-minute conversation, and I walked away from that feeling really good about the fact that I could help somebody, and it did help me. It kind of just reset, I don't know, just my focus in what's best for me, and part of that is helping other people, but I don't do it to the extent where I feel drained and I feel pulled from every angle. I don't do that anymore. Okay. I'm finding balance in it.
Fantastic. You are very good at it, and you've helped lots and lots of people, but some of these people need to remember that you're not just there for them. They need to do some of the work themselves. I know that sounds harsh.
I do encourage that.
You can encourage all you want. It's for that person to fucking get the message, isn't it? Might have no subscribers by the end of this video. Should we carry on? You know what? Fuck it. It's warts and all, isn't it? It always has been. So, if this is real life. This is my feelings. This is your feelings. It's real. We're not fucking slagging it. We're not slagging anyone individually or whatever. I don't know. I just can say I've completely gone away from that. But where I fully believe that, and I don't believe that Steph needs this for 1 minute. And in fact, I 100% know she doesn't. But she might disagree with me. But I do believe that you do enjoy it, and that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing.
Enjoy helping people?
Yeah, of course you do.
Of course I do. And but I just want to say one more thing about this topic, and in AA, in the 12 steps, the 12th step is, and I can't remember it exactly, it's something about carrying the message to other alcoholics or people in suffering, people who are still suffering or whatever, something like that. But I spent 3 years in AA, and I do remember that being kind of drilled into people's heads as being like, that is really important, in staying sober, is helping others. And I've always been a helper. Like, I've always just been that kind of a person who likes to help other people. I have a degree in psychology. I went into counseling. Like, that's something that I like to do. And now I'm studying nutrition. I want to become a nutritionist. So yeah,
Sorry,
what was that?
that's my little handbag. Ooh. Sorry, carry on.
What was the handbag for?
I'm just listening. Go on, carry on.
No, what was that? I don't get it. Is it funny?
Might be a UK thing. It was funny to me.
But I don't get it.
Doesn't matter. Carry on.
No, I don't get the joke.
How? Because you're really bright and intelligent. Maybe it's because I'm not. Just get on with it.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, in the 12-step program, that's one of the 12 steps. It's a very important principle of helping others in order to continue to stay in the right frame of mind for helping yourself and staying sober. So I think because I spent 3 years in AA, 20 years ago, but I still remember that, and I think that was a principle I tried to apply to my sobriety this time from early on. And I used to say all the time, and I still do, helping others helps me. But yes, I am at a point now where I no longer need to help someone get sober or stay sober in order for me to stay sober. I'm not going to drink again. I know that. I'm at a different phase in my life now. I'm no longer a drinker, and I don't see myself ever going back to that. But I do enjoy helping people, but I'm learning to find a balance. And I'm sure anyone who's in a 12-step program who also, is on that 12th step of helping others, I'm sure there are plenty of people who can relate to overdoing it. You're spending too much time, you're sponsoring too many people, and you're getting calls all the time, getting pulled in every direction, and you have to find balance with it. I will probably always be willing and able to be there for people who need me, but I definitely realize too that my kids need me, and I need to take care of myself, and so it was a matter of finding balance for me. I just needed to defend myself there.
Defend? That sounds harsh.
Yeah, well, you were having a go at me.
Do you feel attacked then?
I always feel attacked by you.
Yeah. No, again, I'm saying it for the 100% belief for the right reasons. I'm not attacking you. I just think, I think anyway. Again, as I've always said, I think you're kind of built for this stuff. I know. Well, you are built for this stuff. So I could see you doing this for the rest of your life. Not like you are now, but improving stuff and doing your nutrition and whatever, and just combining everything you've learned and possibly making a career out of it. That's fine, and that's your bag. And if that's what you want and then that's what you make happen, fucking all credit to you. That's amazing. But what I'm just saying again, that's not me anymore.
Yeah, you don't want that.
And hasn't been, for a while. So yeah, that's it. So probably leaving the nest sooner rather than later. And that's the only kind of thing I'm going to say on that right now, because I'm not foolish enough to come on camera and say, right, I'm doing this on so and so day, and that's it. I'm gone. I'm watching what my brain does and tells me, and see if the thought process patterns change. But they seem to just be getting stronger and stronger. So it's something I'm gonna look at again in a period of time, in the very, very, very near future. And as I say, if I'm there, then I'll fly the nest and I'll go on my own. But when I say on my own, I'm not Amma. I've got all these connections. Obviously I've got Steph, but I've got lots of other people that if Steph wasn't there or whatever, I can talk to whatever, and I can fucking add myself back to the group.
Can I just say, with me, you'll have to make an appointment because I have all these other people that I'm talking to. So
I can imagine, yeah. But I can also come back to the support network anytime I want, so it's not.
I would have to.
Well, if Steph lets me back in, that is, obviously.
I approve every member.
Yeah, I'll be blocked probably.
You might.
So anyway, I don't know. As I say, next video there could be a turnaround from this, and I could be back to how I was, but I very much doubt that. You've got to listen to your mindset. You've got to listen to your mind and your gut feeling and things like that. These actual senses we have within us, they're there for a reason. Mm-hmm. And very rare you'll ever hear someone say they followed a gut feeling and it was wrong. Do people ever say that? I've never. I'm, as Steph will hopefully vouch for, I'm a really good judge of character with people. I hope you agree. And I see people for what they are, and that when I say for what they are, that sounds harsh. I don't mean that. I kind of pick up on what type of person they are. And I don't know why I'm telling you that, but no idea why I've just said that. But anyway, as I say, my alarm bells are all ringing that it's time to do the next step.
You were talking about your gut feeling.
Yeah, and it's about it's about following it, and that's and it's not just a gut feeling. It's a lot of stuff, and because I got a little bit into the mindfulness stuff, I hardly touched the sides, but I got into it enough to understand what it is, and there's bits of that I like.
So what is it?
Oh, it's living in the moment, I guess, is the best. Living in the present. Was that like a fucking test? Jesus.
It was a little quiz.
You didn't tell me you fucking were going to ask me that. And then obviously we did that, the yoga, the breathing session with Esther 2 weeks ago, whatever, or a week ago, I don't know, And, I got a lot from that. I had a little bit of a little moment where I finally realised what yoga is. And I don't do yoga, and I don't intend to do yoga because every time I bend over, I'd fart.
Okay, you don't know what yoga is then?
No, that was a joke. No, I do know what yoga is now, and I'm not the best person, but from what I know, what mindfulness is, I understand it's. Well, I don't know if you call it the next level or it's just a sideways step. I don't know, but it's obviously you're bringing your whole body into it then, and doing the poses or whatever you call positions or whatever. So I kind of understand more about it. It's not that I'm going to do it. It's not my cup of tea. But I used to kind of think it was more for exercise, and to be more supple, and it is a little bit of that. But you know what I mean. So obviously, just to go back to that original point of the breathing. So I've got, I've learned all it, or I'm learning these little different techniques which I've tried, and they have massive calming effects. Huge calming effects. And it's not that I practice it every day, and I did do for a while, but I know I've not done any mindfulness in probably over 2 weeks, which I know is wrong.
So you've not been living in the moment?
I've been okay, but yeah, now and again the mind can race away and think about us. But I think also, yeah, I hope this makes sense. I think also because I hope it sounds right. I fully believe that the mindfulness stuff that I did has now taken another tool out of the toolbox and put it in here. Because when I do tend to race away with something, I can bring myself back very quickly, and I don't need to go meditate for 10 minutes to do that. Don't get me wrong. I think if I was really having a moment about something and I was really under stress and pressure, maybe I would have to take myself away and do a full mindfulness 10, 15 minutes or whatever to really get it back in control. But what I'm kind of saying is I kind of think it's allowed my brain to work in that kind of way where...
Yeah, I was just going to say, practicing meditation every day, it's not so on that particular day or the hour after you meditate that you'll be in a state that you're more like mindful and in the moment. It's that consistently daily meditation retrains your brain so that in every moment of your day to day, your mind more easily stays in the moment. Which
is awesome. So again, it's just something in my, what's the word? I don't want to keep saying toolbox, but whatever, my lines of defense I now have, which are within me, that, it just helps me get on with things. So, as I say, I'm quite comfortable now with what I've got. I really don't think there's anything out there now that I've never heard of, or, things that I will need to move forward. So I'm kind of going down the self-improvement road, and I'm starting to watch and read. Not so much read.
I was going to say read.
Yeah, read. I'll take that back. Just watch. Okay, I'm lying. But about the power of positive thinking, and and a lot of people, I know that's not for a lot of people. These big, larger-than-life characters like Tony Robbins, someone like that. I'm just saying his name because that's probably one everyone's heard of, but or Michael on here on the group doing the very similar kind of stuff, Michael will better tell you a lot more about it than I know about it, but I understand completely where it's coming from.
We should get Michael on here.
Say that again.
We should get Michael on here.
No, Michael talks too much. I need to be the centre of attention. Sorry, Michael. We'll do another one later. I'd have to put you on mute all the time. What are you doing with me, dear?
Nothing, carry on.
What have you done?
Go on. So as I was saying, we should get Michael on here. And we can ask him all about his life coach work.
We didn't stop muting me.
Sorry.
We didn't
Just
decide to.
recommended
We
work.
weren't going to mention your name, but that's obviously you kind of that's what you do, life coaching and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm looking at a lot more of that stuff, and you know, that we really don't have anything more powerful than our mindset, you know, and the power of thinking and making those thoughts happen, you know.
So let me ask you something. Do you believe that we can use the power of mindset, the power of changing our thoughts and our thinking about things to no longer have an addictive brain, to no longer be someone who would be an addict?
I don't know. I won't. I really don't know. I'm of the mindset that we have to always be very careful. Always.
So will you always be someone with an addictive tendency? Will you always be an addict?
I don't know. I'm not. No, don't fucking say that. Will you always be an addict? There you go. That's the shit that I don't want to hear. You know. No, I don't believe in that. Obviously, I can only really talk about the alcoholism side of it because I've still got issues now with other things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I do have addictive behaviours. Even before I started this journey, I was always an addictive person. I was always the one who'd go to a driving range and drive off 25 balls, and then the fucking next day go buy a full golf set, but never play golf. You know, it's just crazy. When I worked for myself, I had my own business. I was doing the courier stuff, and I had the best fucking van that money could buy. I had silly lights on it and chrome bars everywhere.
Why does that not surprise me?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't, because it tells you what I'm like, you know. And through every part of my life, you know, that's what I do. I've always been all or nothing. Now, whether that's just me or the alcoholism caused that over many years, I don't know. Will that disappear? I would probably nail my colours to the mast and say probably not. I do kind of think that's me. But I just think, you know, it's just something I have to be aware of, and should it get out of control, or when it gets out of control, just reel myself in slightly. So, in answer to your question, no, I don't think the power of our mind can tell us we're fixed, basically. Why do you disagree with that?
No, I was just wondering what you thought about that. No, I just, are we wrapping up soon?
Yeah, if you're bored of me, yeah.
It's not that, no, I wanted to make the point
but
that...
There's probably no fucker watching now. I'll fucking upset every
long
fucker.
It's turned off.
There'll be fucking no one watching this. just let me say my piece on this, yeah? If I've come across like a total twat on this video, please see it for me just being as honest as I can, as I've always been on my journey. This is where I'm up to right now. I am not judging myself against anyone out there. Each individual person does. Well, they're in charge of their own journey, and I will never say a bad word about that. This is just my views and where I am right now. And if I feel a bit harsh on Steph, you haven't seen nothing.
You've seen nothing.
But me and Steph have this relationship where anything goes. So, and that's the way why we work so well together, because we bounce off each other. So if I've come across a little bit harsh with Steph, you can PM her and she'll tell you I'm not actually this bad person. If you can get in, you'd probably be in a fucking queue.
I've already PM'd everybody I know. He's such a dick.
So anyway, I think we do need to wrap it up, because probably as soon as this gets published, I'll have no friends left. But
well, I feel like we've kind of been all over the place a little, but I also just wanted to make the point that, like, what we're talking about here is the language of recovery, the language of what happens after you are no longer an addict or no longer an alcoholic. Like what I think that we all define that differently. Obviously, there are programs and groups that will define it a certain way, and then there are individuals like yourself and myself who got sober kind of our own way. We found a support group at which you kind of aligned your thinking quite a lot with the person who started that group.
Oh yeah.
Was not so much. I mean, to a certain extent, but anyway, we won't get into that. But just to say that there are different. Annie Grace, and I mean there are different, a lot of different people out there, different voices out there in the alcohol addiction recovery, community with
And
different
no
points
one's
of
right
view.
and no one's wrong.
No, that's right. I mean, everyone chooses their own way, and that was the point I was just about to make. Is that whatever we've been kind of babbling on about here, the point is everybody has to find the language and the definitions and the labels or no labels that work for them. Some of us want to just move on with our lives and never really look back at this chapter except to just be remind ourselves
Yeah.
as needed that we can never drink again. And then there are those who need to just live the 12-step way of life, and then there are those who need to go to monthly SMART meetings. I mean, everyone's different in this, and it's not necessarily to do with how bad your addiction or your drinking was. It's just a different path and a different way. So
Whatever
yeah, we're
works
not
for you.
knocking any
No,
way.
no. I don't think we've come across like that.
Well,
If
I
we have,
haven't, but
I know I haven't. I think people know my views on that. You take what you need.
yeah, exactly.
Just another thing I'd like to say as well. If you can be asked watching this and you're watching what I'm saying right now, please comment below on the group or on the YouTube channel. I'd love to know what people actually think. Just fucking say it. If I'm a twat, I'm a twat. Or if you think I've got some, or if you think I'm wrong, just say it. It's really interesting stuff. I try to get some sort of prise the door open to what people thought about it, and people weren't that forthcoming, which is it's great. But feel free.
I would like to see how many people will comment below that Glenn's a twat.
By all means.
Can we make this a contest? Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up now.
Yeah. Can I just say one more thing? Because we talk often about our group, and we talk about the Onwards and Upwards group, which is no more, but we've mentioned our group the way back. I wanted to say, on our next video, which is this one, that we have this group, and if anyone is interested in joining our group, it is a secret Facebook group, so it's not searchable. You're not going to find us if you just search the way back, but if you comment below, we can get in touch with you, because we have a great group of folks, and very supportive, and I'm there enough to admin in a way that, like, abuse and anyone being nasty to each other, that's just not tolerated. So it's a safe place to talk about whatever is going on with you. So just to put that out there, that we're available should you be looking for a support group.
Touting for business, basically.
No, I'm just saying business. We don't charge for it.
Maybe we should. People would love to listen to me being a twat. I'm sure of it. It's probably just me. Anyway.
Right.
Just one very quick one on that we were kind of talking about. I don't know if Steph's going to completely. This might be a bit of a shock, but because that group has shut down, if you do know anyone struggling, stick them our way as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're not, I know I've spoke a lot about day one people and stuff, but we're not a closed door either. So
well, you're not going to be there anyway to be annoyed by people with day one posts. So
yeah, exactly. So if you do know anyone from that group or any other group who is struggling, send them our way. It's not, although it is for the second phase of sobriety. As Steph said, it's an open door. It's a help group at the end of the day, which is a very safe place to post, and it will always remain that.
Yes.
Even when I'm not there.
No matter where you are in your journey, absolutely.
You do what I said. Even when I'm not there.
Oh, whatever. God, the world. God.
Yeah. Right. Thank you for listening, everyone. Much appreciated. Hope you're still my friend.